Good morning, everybody. It's right now 10:02. We are about to join Savannah Mayor Van Johnson for an update on the city's efforts to fight coronavirus. Let's go ahead and listen in via
I
the Zoom
again
video
want to
app.
take the opportunity to thank those who have been and continue to be on the front lines of this pandemic in positions and roles that are too numerous to mention. It is because of you that Savannah has remained viable during this crisis, and I want to again say thank you. I also want to take a moment of personal privilege to congratulate the class of 2020 on their exceptional achievements during these extraordinary times. While I cannot imagine what you are feeling, missing out on those events that usually define the senior year experience, like prom, bash, and graduation, I will tell you that your achievements are still significant, still outstanding, and no virus can ever take that away from you. We remain incredibly proud of all of you. We congratulate you. We congratulate your parents. We congratulate everyone in your village that helped you get to this point. And I again thank the Savannah Chatham Board of Education and to our private, parochial, and home schools for doing all that you could to make the best of this situation. As you are aware, Georgia's public health emergency order is scheduled to expire on May the 13th, but the governor has allowed many businesses to reopen, some last Friday and others yesterday. The mayor's office has been extremely busy since March the 11th, fielding inquiries and requests from citizens and businesses and coordinating meetings and conferences with national, state, and local organizations and leaders. I thank my assistant, Marty Johnston, the city manager, Pat Monahan, city attorney, Bates Lovett, city clerk, Mark Massey, and their teams for their superb service. I also want to thank our public communications office, headed by Nick Zola, and his team for their efforts throughout. Over the past several days, I've spoken with more than 25 local, national, and international news outlets. Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, BBC, numerous print and digital publications about my concerns. These media opportunities have allowed me to tell the story of Savannah and how our proactive action and the collective work of Team Savannah has kept COVID-19 manageable in this community. The science continues to tell us that Georgia has not yet met the Phase 1 guidelines from the White House to reopen our state. Therefore, my concerns remain specific and focused on my belief that Georgia opened too soon. I'm not mad at anybody, not upset with anybody. Governor Kemp is still our governor. We just choose to disagree on this very important issue. And that's the bottom line. Barbershops, beauty salons, nail salons, massage parlors, tattoo shops, and movie theaters are allowed now to be open. I personally remain concerned that the Georgia Department of Labor is not open to serve the large number of Savannians who have contacted our offices about not being able to access the Department of Labor's computer system or having their phone calls returned. I remain concerned that the Department of Family and Children's Services has not been open to adequately provide access to needed safety net programs. Last week, I asked Savannahans to consider prepaying their favorite personal services ahead of time, including cosmetology, hair care, nail care, massage, tattoos, and other professional services. This action will help their cash flow and relieve some of the pressure that they face to make ends meet. I've also asked Savannahans to purchase gift cards from their favorite local restaurants and businesses. In both cases, Savannahans have responded and have responded well. Thank you for that. And I'm asking you to continue to do this. If you have not done it, please consider it. It is our own form of paycheck protection programs. This past weekend, there were noticeably more people outside. It was a beautiful weekend, and there was much more traffic on our streets. And I noticed that most citizens were not wearing face coverings and not observing social distancing. Please be warned and advised that we are not out of the woods yet, and this is hardly not the time to be complacent or lulled into a false sense of security. COVID-19 has killed over 1,000 Georgians and at least 7 of our friends and neighbors right here in Chatham County. And although I'm advocating for Savannahans, we need all of you to take responsibility for your own health and the health of your families. The decisions you make about where you go and who you interact with and how soon you do it will determine how this virus impacts Savannah. We fully understand the challenges that our small business community is facing, and we clearly understand that many of our small businesses needed to open, and we understand that. We're just asking that you have a plan to protect your employees and to protect your customers. Please do not open until you're absolutely ready to do so. If you're able to hold off a little while longer, I'm asking again for you to consider it. I'm especially asking our restaurant owners to follow the science and choose to offer only takeout, delivery, and curbside pickup for the time being. We have taken the liberty to list as many restaurants as we can on my Facebook page, and we will continue to update that as the information comes forth. I also thank the members of Savannah's faith community who have overwhelmingly decided to follow the science and remain closed last weekend to in-person services. I thank the bishops of the Catholic, the African Methodist Episcopal, and the Episcopalian communities for directing that their churches across the state of Georgia remain closed for the time being. I'm continuing to ask them and you to follow the science to protect your leaders and your members by staying at home. Your city is working on a well-defined plan to reopen safely, and we are leaning towards an intentional, phased-in approach that is not based on expediency, but based on the science. We do not yet have a timeline for when some of our in-person services could be back to normal, but please stay tuned. Your city council will still be meeting remotely through Zoom, but we will only be meeting on Thursday afternoons at 3 p.m. unless we decide that additional meetings are necessary or if circumstances dictate. The Savannah Civic Center has canceled or postponed all performances through the end of May. City parks will stay open for the time being for passive activities like walking, as long as people correctly social distance. Park equipment that promotes group activities like basketball courts will remain closed for the time being. Please expect to be approached and politely asked to disperse if social distancing is not taking place. Chatham Area Transit is keeping its reduced schedule and increased safety measures over the next several weeks. Riders should only use CAT services for essential trips, like work, grocery shopping, or medical appointments. They should wear a mask or cloth face covering while on the bus and enter and exit through the back door unless they need the front door wheelchair ramp. We thank our drivers, many of whom are volunteering for this extra duty. As you are aware, the Coastal Health District is offering free COVID-19 testing. Anyone with symptoms qualifies for a test, and the CDC recently expanded the list of common COVID-19 symptoms. In addition to fever, cough, and shortness of breath, other common symptoms could include chills, muscle pain, headache, sore throat, and loss of taste or smell. If you are a critical workforce employee without symptoms, you can also get tested. You can schedule an appointment in 3 easy steps. 1, you can call 912-230-9744. 912-230-9744. Health department staff will screen you over the phone and they will schedule you an appointment for a free test. Savannah's homeless citizens have told us that their critical needs are food, shelter, and hygiene, and our city staff and community partners are stepping up to fill those gaps during this time. Land clearing has started on Dundee Street to make room for a long-term solution to homelessness in Savannah. Last week's wet weather delayed the work just a little bit, but we are getting back to it in earnest. Meal services is still happening throughout the city, and this feeding program is going and on track. We have served 1,000 breakfasts and lunches in just the first week, and we supplemented lighter weekend meal schedules by providing MREs, meals ready to eat, as well. We're grateful for the help of our partners of the Chatham Emergency Management Agency, the faith-based community, the Salvation Army, and Union Mission for helping us feed those that are in need. We certainly also want to thank the many community partners, the Second Harvest Food Bank. This weekend I participated in a food drive by the EOA, by Savannah Feed the Hungry, the Men of Brawn. We want to thank you for doing what Savannahans do, and that is taking care of us. This is where we find ourselves. While we cannot control what is happening, we certainly can control how we respond to what is happening. We have chosen to remain positive and hopeful, as well as cautious and careful. Negativity has no place in Savannah, particularly during this time. Thank you again to our media partners for helping us share this worthwhile information. We plan to continue these briefings as long as you'll have us. As long as you'll come, we'll be here as we work to get our city back on track. Savannahans have responded well, and I ask you to continue doing this as we move forward. So as we continue and I end my prepared remarks, I just again know and acknowledge that times are hard, times are difficult. The warm weather makes you want to go outside. I know that we must be having cabin fever. I'm again asking us to continue to remain cautious. We're not out of the woods. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. We just have to get there. We do not get there by resorting to the type of behavior that will get us in a more precarious situation than we are now. I'm certainly soliciting your support as we continue to keep Savannah safe during these very strange and interesting times. That ends my prepared remarks, and I will entertain any questions if you have any. And good to see you, Dan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This plan that you're working on, the city's working on, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. do you have any idea of when that plan will be ready? I know you said you didn't have a timeline, but was the timeline for opening or for the plan to come together?
Well, I think it's a mixture of both.
Okay.
As we follow the science, the science is evolving. And personally, through the governor's action, we're expecting that we won't know what has occurred by last weekend's activity until about 2 weeks. So again, it really depends on our numbers of infections. The governor said himself he expected the infected numbers to go up. We know from the science, one person can infect up to 3 people. So again, it's a matter of the technical aspects of what the city does and the science. We do not want to resume quote unquote normal operations until it's absolutely safe to do so. So I thank the city team and Mr. Monahan for keeping their fingers on the pulse of what's going on both locally and nationally. We also realize, the other interesting thing is that we also realize that we're watching license plates back in Savannah from other places. And so again, we're not sure where people are necessarily coming from.
Well, from some talk I've heard that there's some confusion in the public nationally about Georgia being open or not open.
Right.
And the hotels are getting calls, with people saying Georgia's open now, so they want to come. And I think some of the hotels are telling them don't. But I don't know how you stop that kind of thing. You just can't.
Well, and hence my concerns that, I've said publicly. I mean, when we're ready to open as a city, as a state, it needs to be coordinated so that we're saying a singular message. What we've been saying is that we're still under, we're still under a stay-at-home order until April the 30th. Yet you can go get your nails done, you can go get a tattoo, you can go to movie theaters, you can go to bowling alleys. So again, it's those types of things that leave people confused. And so for us, we want to speak with a singular mind, a singular message, so that we're very clear about what the playbook is. At this point, we're playing from different plays. We're still playing defense here in Savannah. And I think that's what we have to do, to continue to make sure we keep people safe.
And again, I don't mean to take up all your time.
No, you can't.
I'm trying to catch up. Have we reported, or have you reported how many city employees have gotten tested that are positive? Are there people that have been impacted with working for the city?
Yes, we have been phenomenally blessed here at the city of Savannah in terms of Team Savannah. We've had several employees who were quarantined out of abundance of caution, not maybe from themselves or from a family member. We've only had one employee to test positive.
Wonderful.
Yes. And again, this is the result of, I think, very quick and proactive action by our team to protect our employees. You look across the state, look across the nation, and you see literally departments of employees who have been affected. And we've been able to keep our numbers down, and we're trying our best to keep it that way, which is why we're not rushing to reopen our services.
Thank you.
Hey, Ms. Katie.
Hey there, Mr. Mayor. I was wondering if you have been able to gauge or get any kind of idea of how many businesses that are allowed to reopen have actually decided to do so, or are there a lot who are still choosing to stay home or stay closed even though they can reopen?
It's really hard to kind of figure that out. I will be asking the city manager, just for purposes of how many businesses we have of those types, if we can figure that out in Savannah. I think that's interesting information to know, and we'll report that. Again, on my Facebook page, I've had someone to help me to compile lists just from asking local businesses, restaurants, what was open, what was closed, and we've reported that to just give people an idea of what's going on. It's clear that most of our restaurants here are still doing takeout and delivery. They agree that it's really not safe at this point to be able to open up for full services. And so we appreciate that. Again, we're trying to protect not only our customers, but also their employees. But we'll release that information as soon as we get it.
And then I just have one other question for you. Has it been a challenge to reach the Hispanic and Latino community, and are there any efforts from the city trying to make a better effort to reach that community?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, if you notice on our Saturday briefings, we do it for the first time. All of our messages are in Spanish. We maintain a good relationship with the Hispanic community. We hope that will grow as we continue to offer our messages in both English and Spanish. We realize, again, we're a growing, more diverse population, and so we are reaching out. We're offering a seat at the table, and we'll continue to communicate. Certainly, this is not optimal at this point, but I think we're a lot further than we used to be.
Thanks.
Ms. Hamilton, good morning.
You picked because my last name's easier to say. Mr. Mayor, thank you.
That was cold. You know that was cold. That's the demerit for you.
My question for you is that you mentioned in your remarks that you noticed this weekend people weren't wearing face masks, they weren't social distancing themselves. It was something that just a couple of weeks ago, Savannah was actually doing a decent job, you had noted. So are you concerned as people are starting to maybe wean off of those protective measures that we could see more cases here?
Absolutely, absolutely. We're abandoning the things that gotten us to this point in the first place. We're at 207 cases or so in Chatham County. We know that is not all Savannah. So we have been able, by and large, to really arrest COVID-19. And that, again, by us being really relatively restrictive in the things that we were doing here. My fear is that what you see is people thinking, well, even if not specifically said that if my nail shop is open, if my barber shop is open, then things must be better. And so let's go outside, let's walk around. I'm tired of being in the house. And so the mask goes, I'm back with my friends, I'm close to people. And again, that lulls us into a false sense of security. We get more reckless in our behavior. And as we know from across the country, it really just takes an incident or two, a contact or two to start that spread up. It's like a smoldering fire that we've been able to maintain, but the fact when oxygen gets to it, it grows again. And so now it's kind of like oxygen being added to it, and the fire grows. So, I mean, that is absolutely my concern.
And my other question for you quickly is, what kind of enforcement, if any, is the city implementing for businesses that aren't complying with those state regulations that they have to follow to be open, for those businesses that have chosen to reopen?
We've done the best we can. Again, this is the governor's order. We are doing our best to enforce it where we can. We're working with the Sheriff's Department and the Georgia State Patrol, who are and should be the primary agencies to do that. And so that's all we're doing. Again, we are coordinating. And that's the best we could do at this point. We're still receiving reports of businesses that should not be open, that are operating. And strangely enough, sometimes these reports come from their employees who are concerned. And so again, we refer those and we have them investigated, and then they'll take appropriate action per the law.
And if they don't comply, is it a fine? Kind of penalty is there?
I believe it's a citation.
Okay.
It's a civil matter. I believe it's 2.
Third one you can close.
The third, right? So I've been advised that it's 2 citations. On the third one, the business closed.
But go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Miss Alexandria.
You can just do Alex. That's fine.
All right.
So I wanted to ask you about, you had posted this to your Facebook page last night. The mayor was tweeting about, after he checked some favorable data out, he decided to have the short-term vacation rental ban expire in 2 days. You kind of mentioned, looking at license plates, and we touched on, hotels kind of getting calls. What kind of concern does this, bring up for you? considering this basically says, people can come here and visit and vacation.
You asked about, I mean, that's my concern. That we've been successful because we've been able to contain our people. We've been able to contain our activities and giving the impression that Savannah is open again. Again, Savannah, as I've said on the national, international broadcast, Savannah is an international city. People come here from all over the world. Just this week, I was interviewed by folks from the BBC that were here, and folks from a German news company that was here, folks, the two media outlets in Norway were here this week. So people come to Savannah, and so therefore, understanding that, we understand that people will come, and we don't have a checkpoint at borders to say who comes and goes. And when they come in, we don't know what they're bringing with them. Again, we know there is at least a 14-day or 2 to 14-day incubation period for COVID-19, so we don't know where they're coming from. And so again, interacting, being around, again, it creates a situation where infections can grow. And again, we have not still check the plateau as it relates to the White House guidelines for reopening, and that is 14 days of decreased infections or plateaued infections and widespread testing. We are still not doing widespread testing in the way that it would be necessary to ascertain the extent of this virus on the general populace of Savannah. And until we get to that point, again, it's been my opinion, and the science will back me up, that we're not safe. We're not out of the woods yet. As a matter of fact, there was a study that indicated that the state of Georgia wouldn't be safe to open until middle of June. And then to hear that the Georgia General Assembly won't go into session until June 11th, June 18th, something like that. Well, I mean, if the General Assembly is not safe to open until June, then why are local businesses here? I mean, I might want to go to the governor's office and go to it for a tour. I mean, I just think that we're sending very conflicting messages. I just want us to be very clear
Right.
about what
And
we're saying.
as administration, do you
Yes.
think there's really any way to mediate, that kind of activity, besides, these kinds of situations where you're able to publicly, address the community and kind of get your message out through press conferences?
Repeat that, please. I didn't hear the first part.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, repeat the first part.
Oh, as an administration, do you think there's any way to mediate this activity? Obviously there's, it's a governor's order, and in 2 days people can come. But do you think there's anything else you can do besides, just publicly addressing the community and situations like this?
No, I think that we're doing all that we can do legally. The governor's order was absolutely clear in that respect, that we could not make any law more restrictive or make any order more restrictive than what he's done. Last Friday, we reached out to the governor's office again. He's still our governor, and we want to make sure that we have some dialogue, and wanted to create that dialogue since we have not spoken since this has occurred. The only way we've communicated is through the orders, and so we have not heard back from them. So in the meantime, all we can do is to make sure that our populace, our businesses, are as well informed as we possibly can do, giving them the best real-time information based on science that we can. Thank you. Hey, Sean, how you doing, sir?
Hey, doing well, Mr. Mayor. Just really quick, for clarification there, once the governor's executive order that restricts what local municipalities can do expires, then can we expect to see, if you believe that it's still not safe here locally, for city restrictions to ramp back up to where they were pre the governor's order?
We're evaluating our options. I'll tell you again, this is a fluid situation since, the governor has shown a tendency to kind of have a press conference and then announce things. So again, we have some contingencies in mind. Again, we want to base it off of the science, and we want to base it off of what city staff is seeing in the streets. Obviously, if people are not observing social distancing, obviously if people are not engaging in safe behaviors, then our actions will be in accordance with that behavior and in accordance with the science.
Okay. And just one more thing here. Also, I know Deanne was asking about the phased reopening of the city. I know we've heard that if this lasts through the month of May, I know the city manager talked about potential cost-saving options needing to be looked at. If it goes beyond that point, what level of a phased-in approach will help reduce the financial impact on city government to where we won't have to look at other cost-saving measures at the end of the month?
Well, I think Budgeting 101 tells us that you have revenues, you have expenditures. We don't have a lot of money coming in. So then you have to be able to cut. Again, I congratulate the city of Savannah over several years, over several administrations, over several managers that have done a very good job of preparing for this rainy day, which is why we are not as bad off as many cities that I've talked to across the country. Some cities have already furloughed, some cities have already laid off. We're not at that point yet. I do think, in talking with the city manager yesterday, that we won't ever get back to normal. This has shown us that there are some things that we can do to create some efficiencies going forward. We might have some employees teleworking on a more permanent basis. Again, this is something that it creates opportunities for us to reduce our carbon footprint, for us to be able to be more efficient and effective. Obviously, when we're talking about meetings, we found ways to be able to meet. So we're not driving cars all the way across the city. So I think, again, this becomes a new normal for us. And again, it'll really be based on the science. And again, because we know, we projected that we're good through the month of May, again, puts us in line with what the science said originally had we stayed on the current course. So I expect in the coming weeks, we'll have more information. I don't want the city manager or his team to be too premature because, as you know, in 2 weeks we have a spike in infections. We'll have to do something totally different. But I do again want to thank our team, 2,438. I'm right?
Yes, sir.
2,438 members strong. Get up, that put on their uniforms every day, that hit the field, that play their position with knowledge, skill, and they're making it happen every day. To be a full-service city, we have done our best in balancing keeping our employees safe, as well as making sure that we maintain a solid level of city services. That being said, yesterday, yard waste is being picked up. Now, I've gotten some inquiries today. Somebody contacted me and said, well, my yard waste hasn't been picked up yet. Well, the yard waste goes out yesterday, and it will be picked up at some point during the week. We're making a pass throughout the city, so just because it wasn't picked up yesterday or today or maybe even tomorrow does not mean we will not get to you. Again, we've contracted with a company to do this work, and they're going through the city, and so they will get to you. And if you will help us to get that word out, I'd appreciate it. Anything else? Y'all okay? Okay, everybody's in their houses and everything. And Sean looks like he's in a cave somewhere.
I'm in the dark wing of the house, nice and quiet.
Okay, well, we appreciate you all again for all that you do. Thank you for helping us get our word out. Thank you for being partners in what you do. And again, we're around if you need us. Just contact Nick, and we're here. Okay. I want to thank our interpreter. Thank you so much, ma'am. We appreciate you. How do you say thank you?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that is Savannah Mayor Van Johnson. He has been giving what is now a weekly update he gives regarding the city's standing with coronavirus, its efforts to fight it, and so forth. Among the topics he really hit hard today, some of them he has hit before, but he just re-emphasized. He says that this past weekend he saw more people out and about around Savannah, no face mask and not social distancing. And he says, of course, that is clearly a concern because he worries that people are letting their guard down too soon.